Welcome to IVMF Business Plan Lab. This is our session number 2. Today we're going to be talking about the business plan sections, which will cover the company and the industry. Basically, these two sections will summarize the opportunity and identify how you're going to leverage and exploit that opportunity. To quickly summarize what we talked in our first session, the critical elements of a business plan which you must do and address in your business plan is that you have to have a clear value proposition. You have to show that the industry is attractive. You have to present a sustainable competitive advantage. You have to prove that there is a strong market that is willing and able to buy your products and services. You have to show how you're going to reach that market through a marketing plan, how you're going to implement and make it work through a operational and management team, and finally also show and summarize your business plan in financial statements through cash flow, income statement, and balance sheet. The value proposition of your company will be covered in your company section, which is the company concept, products, and services. The company concept, products, services, as the name already says, the title covers the company and the concept of your business. You have to identify what products and services you will have, and also you have to talk about entering growth strategy of your business. So we're going to go in more details on these 3 sections. But before we go to that, I just want to remind you one more time what we talked about last time and the importance of recognizing the opportunity and how you move that opportunity to a concept. Please remember that opportunity is problem plus solution. So you have to identify a problem or a need or a gap and identify a solution. But what does the solution really entail? Here you want to describe your business. Do you offer products or services, or do you offer both? Which ones, and do you make or sell, or you do both? So is that solution part of a product or service, or both, and how it's being delivered? What are some of the main features of these? And when we talk about features and benefits, we're going to ask also what are some benefits to customers. I use an example of a frying pan, a Teflon frying pan. The feature of the frying pan is that it's heavy and it's black. The benefit of a Teflon frying pan is that it's non-stick. I hope this kind of helps you to think about your features and benefits of your products and services. Also, who are the customers that will be using this and who will benefit from these products, and how it will be delivered. When you put these together, when you answer those questions, this becomes your concept. This helps you summarize your concept, and this a lot of times becomes also your pitch. When people ask you, what do? You can say, well, this is how we create value. This is our value proposition. That said, in your business plan, the company and the concept sections, you have to talk about the business structure. And when we talk about business structure, here we are dealing with a legal entity. Is it a partnership? Is it an S corporation? Is it an LLC? And if you're not sure what you want to do, we highly recommend that you connect with your business counselor as well as your accountant and or your lawyer. In addition to this, you want to identify where your company will be based and when you plan to commence those operations. So that is what goes under the business structure. Also, in this section, you want to briefly summarize the company history, how you discovered this concept or the problem or solution, as well as the current status of your company. Spell out your mission, your vision, and the main objectives of your company. Finally, describe specifically the concept behind the business. What is your unique value proposition? What are the core benefits you will provide to user? And what is the need or the pain you will address with your products and services? So talking about products and services, there should be a section summarizing your products and services, a section that addresses, and in this section you want to describe each product or service you'll be selling, what is it and what is not. Describe the product fully and provide pictures or brochures in the appendix if you can. Begin to sell your idea here by generating some excitement about your product or your service. So discuss how the product is going to be applied. So what's the applicability of the product, and describe also the primary use as well as any significant secondary applications who will use it, and why will they use it. Highly recommended that you should provide a diagram of the intended depth and breadth of your product and service mix, and which products will likely generate the lion's share of your revenue. So identify a depth and breadth. When we talked about depth and breadth, an example would be if I'm selling, let's say, computer laptops, and I'm selling papers. So this is my breadth. I have 2 products. And then the depth would be I have 10 varieties of laptops, and then I have 5 varieties of papers. So I have hard paper, blue paper, soft paper, red paper, and yellow paper. So that's my depth of my product, paper products, and I have 10 different laptop products. That's my depth of my laptop. So you have the breadth is really the width, how many different products you have, and then variation is the breadth of all these products. I hope that helps. Also, emphasize any unique features of the product and or service and how these will create or add significant value. Highlight any differences between what is currently on the market and what you will offer that will account for market penetration. You should also describe any value added here, and discuss how many months it will take for a customer to cover the initial purchase price of the product and or your service as a result of its time. So the result of its time, the result of its cost or productivity improvements. And describe the competitive strengths and how it differentiates from the competition. How are your products and or services different from your competitors? I highly recommend also using a competitive map where you really identify key variables such as the price, delivery time, quality, if you can measure quality, and define what the quality measure is, and then identify all the companies and see really how they differentiate and what are potential gaps that you can leverage and even create more value by offering that within your product and service mix. Also, in addition to really talking about all these great things about your products, you should also include a description of any possible drawbacks, including any obsolescence or erase of someone else's copyright to the product or the service that you might have. Discuss any head start you might have that would enable you to achieve a favored or entrenched position in industry. For example, you have proprietary rights to sell certain products that nobody else has. You started a patent, you have a copyright, or you have a trademark or trade secret, or have non-compete agreements with somebody else. So this would give you a leverage and also another advantage in industry. Describe the key factors that dictate the success of your products and services. What are those, and how do you work? How are you going to leverage them in a competitive space? And describe any features of the product or the services that give it an unfair advantage over the competition, such as proprietary knowledge or skills that you might have. And finally, discuss any opportunities for the expansion of the product line or the development of related products and or services, and please emphasize opportunities and explain how the company will take advantage of these opportunities. So if you plan to develop a product, that you might have phase A, you're going to provide one variation of the product, and then plan B will be to provide 3 variations and plus additional add-ons to that. An example of that would be developing a smartphone, and then that would be phase A, and then phase B would be developing a new version of smartphone, but then also developing several applications that will go along with that phone that you will develop. And the final part of the company and the concept section is the entry and growth strategy. And in this section, you really want to talk about how and where will you initially enter the market. If you already have a business, you want to talk about historically what you have done so far, where you entered the market, and if you're planning to expand and grow, then what is the goal of entering the new market or expanding into new market. You should share your vision from where the firm will be in 5 years. Think about geographical scopes, how many markets you want to enter, number of different locations, as well as expansion of your product and service mixes that you plan to have. Uh, also summarize how quickly you tend to grow during the first 5 years and your plans for growth beyond your initial product and service. Finally, you should discuss how you will be creating barriers to entry in terms of others copying your success. What will you have in place that will prevent anybody else from copying your idea, copying your product and services, or distribution channels, or prohibiting you from being successful in that field. So to summarize, the company and the concept and the product and services section should give us great information about what is that you do, what product or service do you offer, what is the added value that you provide, and how you plan to expand that value and keep that value competitive in a competitive space. Your solutions, your products and services will be based on the gap that you identified. And now we want to move into the industry section, where we'll identify opportunities, gaps, the trends, and many other different information that will help you build a strong case to prove that there is a need for your product or services, and prove that there is opportunity to be leveraged and exploited by providing your solutions, by providing your products and or services in this industry. As you already have seen in the nuts and bolts of a business plan that we have shared with you, the first information that we look in when we define the industry is the NAICS code. The NAICS code is used by business and government to classify business establishments according to the type of economic activity or processes of production in Canada, Mexico, and the United States. The NAICS numbering system employs 6-digit code at most detailed industry level. The first 5 digits are generally, although not always strictly the same in all 3 countries. The first 2 digits designate the largest business sector, the 3rd digit designates the subsector, the 4th digit designates the industry group, the 5th digit designates the NAICS industry, and the 6th digit designates the national industries. So you can, if you go to the website we have listed here on the PowerPoint, naics.com/search, or if you just Google NAICS, you'll be able to be led to the website, and you can search your code there. Be aware that your NAICS code or your industry might overlap in several industries. For example, if you look at the iTunes is in 2 different industries based on NAICS code. The one is electronic shopping, and then the other one is pre-recorded tape, CD, and record stores. So don't be limited to only one. I highly recommend that you look at your competitors, see what industries they are considering themselves. One website for that is also Yahoo Finance. You can identify some public companies and see what NAICS codes they use. And as I said, it is 6 digits, but it can grow larger depending on how niche or specialized your product or service is. But it also allows you to look at others in that code, which will help you identify trends that are out there that are categorized within that industry. Knowing the NAICS codes will also help you when you go through a local library to find more data about the industry. Sharing that NAICS code with the librarian helps oftentimes to quickly and easily access the industry that you need to know, the industry data that you need to know for your industry section. A lot of times entrepreneurs get confused about those digits. So if you look at I want to give you an example, and we call it here broad versus narrow. If you look at the 2 or 3 digit NAICS level, it really gives you the big picture of what's going on in the industry. It allows you to think about substitutes and other threats at large, right? If you look, for example, at Panera Bread, if you use the broad 2 or 3 digit NAICS level, it gives you a picture of all fast food restaurants, all casual restaurants, right? And this gives you the high potential in terms of potential sales and industry size, and also gives you a better information to tell a story for investors, right? Because you can say this is a $50 billion industry where we want to compete in, if you go in as a Panera Bread, for example. However, if you go to narrow, which means you do 6 digit NAICS level, you are really gonna think about who are your direct competitors, and this will allow you to provide you with insights to come up with a strategic plan how to beat your competitors or compete with them. An example, Panera Bread, you'll be able to identify that companies like burgers are competing in fast food or casual restaurant industry. Looking at the narrow next level, it helps you also focus your attention on really who your direct competitors, but it might also make you overlook some important things. So it gives you less of potential when you talk to investors, and you won't be able to tell a great story of it's 50 billion, now it's only $5 billion industry versus 50, so it's more lucrative. But overall, it dictates you the types of partnerships you try to seek when you identify what your industry is, helps you to think about the most relevant competitors, their offerings, their prices, also allows you for greater focus on key factors for success in the industry that you have defined, and overall it helps you and aids you in defining your overall strategy. So once you identify that NAICS code or NAICS codes, depending if you overlap in several industries, you'll be able to do a lot of research on that. And an important thing that you should know about industry is you have to figure out what is the stage of the industry. Is it a emerging industry? Is it just coming out, and is it going to be growing? Is it a fragmented industry? You're going to have so many different things going on and different competitors and offerings. Is it a mature industry, or is it in decline? It's good to be an emerging industry because, as the name says, it's emerging. It's going to get bigger and bigger. An example of that we see now is with the smartphones. It's getting bigger and bigger, and a lot of applications have been developed, and a lot of sales has been doing that. A lot of startups are in that field. Some of those industries include a lot of the food industry that we talked about previously. You have so many different food and casual and fast food places, so it makes it really fragmented and kind of tough to identify a specific niche. If it's a mature industry would be, for example, internet industry, right? It has kind of reached most of households in the United States, so there's not much room for adding new clients or being introduced in new households. And then the declining industry, we've been seeing that and unfortunately today in the United States, the manufacturing has been, a lot of manufacturing industries been in decline, including some of the car industry in Detroit area and other places where used to be the hub zones of our car industry. So once you know what stage of industry is, then you have to think about what implications does this have for type of opportunities that is available, and how you want to pursue this opportunity. Is the industry growing? If it's growing, you want to identify how many competitors are there, and also, are these competitors profitable? How many of them profitable? How they're performing? What are some of the sales? And also, are there any new successful firms? And if yes, who are those, and what are they doing that makes them successful? Another thing you want to know about is where is the technology and what kind of change is happening there. How much do companies, your competitors, spend on research and development? How has the production been changing over the past 10 years? And what has been the industry changed over the past few years? And what are some success factors that have been identified in the industry or industries that you're going to be dealing in? Not only should you look at the past, but also you want to figure out what are some of the trends, what are some predictions of the sales or technology that a lot of the research data shows where the industry is moving toward. You want to figure all these and then find out really what does it mean for you and your competitive advantage and how you fit within the industry. And to better understand how you can fit in the industry, you want to also do the Porter's 5 forces. The Porter's 5 forces look at 5 different variables to measure the attractiveness of your industry. You want to look at the rivalry amongst existing competitors, the threat of new entrants, substitute and threat, buyer power, supplier power. Really, the rivalry among existing competitors, you want to see how they're performing, how they've been sustaining themselves, what is going on for the last 10 years, and 10 years or 20 years, and see who has survived, who has emerged as a leader, or is the leadership changing. So really, how tough is the competition? Then you want to look at substitute threat. What you're trying to offer in industry, is that easily substituted with something else? How easy can another company replicate what you're trying to do, existing company, or how easily can they provide something that's an alternative to what you do, that could be either cheaper or more affordable or more attractive to your customers in that industry? What is the buyer power? How much saying, how much choices do the buyers have? So if you have a lot of different services offered, then the buyer can choose and pick who they want, so they have more buyer power, for example. Also the threat of new entrants. Are you in an industry that's very easily to get in, right? For example, website development, right? Is it easy to get in? Yes. Anybody who has some experiences of building websites, they can get into the business. So the threat of new entrants is kind of high. And then the supplier power. How many suppliers are there for the products that you're going to be using, or if you're going to outsource some services? How many suppliers out there, and how powerful are they when it comes to negotiation? I like to use the example of Zappos.com. I don't know how many of you know about Zappos. It was started, I believe, in 2001 and was sold in 2009 to Amazon for several $1 billion. And one of the things is, if you look at Zappos, they are in the shoe business, right? If you look at that industry, it's looking at it, I know in Syracuse a lot of stores close, especially the mom and pop shops close, and there's more and more of these outlet stores and a lot of stores, shoe stores at the mall that people go and shop. So there is a decent rivalry among existing competitors. There is a substitute, but substitute is not really much because it's kind of difficult to get in, and most people need shoes. The threat of new entrants, anybody can start a shoe store. However, it's not really easily competitive because there are, as I said, a lot of stores have been closing, and the buyer power doesn't have that much. They have a lot of saying. Because there's so many stores are closing, and there are many outlet stores, specialty stores. There are a lot of different shoe stores they can go and buy. And the supplier power is not really that high because there's many different shoe factories, considering also that internationally you can buy shoes anywhere in the world and ship it here. So looking at Zappos model, their model is to sell online and deliver it to your front door. So you have to buy a shoe that's going to cost the same as going to a store, and plus on top of that you will have to pay for a delivery. However, Zappos model is, they looked at this industry, they look at industry to see really there's high rivalry, there's not much threat of new entrants because existing have created strong brands, there's not much supplier power, and then the substitute threat is there, but really it's going to take a lot of money to be able to develop something they have, to develop such infrastructure and be able to advertise in order to start making money. And then Zappos identified that the buyer power was really high because there were a lot of choices. So what they did is they created an online platform, and they provide free shipping both ways. They ship for free to you, and then if you don't like it, doesn't fit, they ship it for you back. They have a 365-day return policy, so nobody else has it. They look at industry, what they're doing, and they promise that the customers that they're going to get their shoes in 4 to 5 days. But in reality, for almost all of the customers, they do a surprise upgrade to overnight shipping. So this is what does this mean actually, right? They have an excellent customer service. They don't upsell the customers. There was even a case that a customer spent 6 hours talking to a representative. So they don't treat customers quick in, quick out. They take their time with the customers. So everyone on the staff is trained so that if the customer is looking for a specific pair of shoes and they're out of stock in their size, then they look at 3 other competitors' websites to find them. If they find the shoe in stock, they are then supposed to direct those customers to those websites. So it's really all about customer services. So and the majority of the customers are repeat customers, and we'll talk later on when we talk about marketing and the market. The best customers are repeat customers. If you make a customer happy, that person is going to tell 5 to 6 other friends about great services you had. If you make them unhappy, they're going to talk to 10 to 11 people about how bad your services were. So really Zappos identified that buyer power in that industry is very high, and with a great customer service they identify a gap there. With a great customer service they'll be able to attract those the buyers and maintain those buyers. So this is an example of how we can look at your industry and identify gaps and opportunities and leverage those in developing a strong business concept and business model. I hope this is helpful as an example. You can also read much more about Porter's 5 Forces. If you just Google Porter's 5 Forces, there are numerous websites that provide in-depth information, as well as samples and guides on how to complete the Porter's 5 Forces exercise. And you see this example of Zappos, how they interpreted the 5 forces. There are some suggestions also when you look at your industry. I highly recommend that you look at entry barriers. Make sure that entry barriers are low, which means low capital requirements. There's low switching costs for customers to move from one product to another one. There's little product differentiation, easy access to distribution channels through regulatory barriers. But then what prevents others from coming in, right? So be aware of that. If you look at this entry barrier, and if it's low, is it really lucrative? Do you really want to be in this business? Right, so you want to find either solutions to this to make it higher capital requirement that you can only identify, or make it higher switching cost from your to somebody else's. So all these things we identify that somebody else is doing, there's low switching cost, and how can you make your switching cost from your product to another one higher? An example of that would be if you be the cell phone company, you have 2-year contract. If you want to get out of the contract, you have to pay like $500 or less or more, depending on the company. So that's high switching cost now, right? If there's little product differentiation, why should I go to you if there's not really much difference there, and I have to pay more or same if I'm already a loyal customer? And also, if there's easy access to distribution channels, see how you can, or find a way then potentially how you can make that distribution channel less accessible, more exclusive for you. And also look at the power of suppliers. If power of suppliers is too high, then the cost will increase. And what will happen to your prices, right? You don't really control your prices, because if you have a certain price and then 3 weeks later your supplier increases your prices, you have to change those too, which might create a negative image, negative perception of your company. So this will also have implications on delivery, quality, and quantities that you're gonna do. If you're in a less attractive industry, focus on different things such as after sale, processes, niche, and leadership. So even though if it's a less attractive industry, and just because you might be in a less attractive industry doesn't mean that there are opportunities. You've seen Zappos was really in non-attractive industries. Mom and pop shops been closing. I know even in Syracuse a lot of stores been closing, getting out of business, a lot of them doing a lot of sales. However, Zappos found a niche, a process, and a customer service that they focused on and has provided them strong credibility and strong competitive advantage over everybody else in that industry. So once you cover the NAICS and the Porter's 5 process and define what it means for you in strategic decision making, you also want to look at your competitors. So you want to look at the competition, and there are 3 types of competitors that you should identify and be aware of. First one is the direct competitors. These are businesses in your industry or in your region that are offering identical similar products or services that you will offer. The indirect competitors are businesses offering close substitute products to what you have. So instead of buying yours, somebody can go to and buy and buy a substitute, an alternative product to yours. And also future competitors. These are businesses that are not yet direct or indirect competitors, but could be at any time. To give you an example of this, I really like to use an example of McDonald's, Starbucks, and local cafe, right? If I have a local cafe here in Syracuse, my direct competitors would be Starbucks, if there is one locally here, right? An indirect competitor would be grocery store that has its own cafe, and also sells not only cafe but also sells tea and other drink products. So people can substitute my coffee drinks with other products, and they can go there. And then future competitors, if you look at McDonald's, 5 years ago McDonald's did not have coffee, right? But today McDonald's has this McCafe where they have everything almost you can find at Starbucks and local cafes. You can also find it at McDonald's. So the future competitor, McDonald's, became a competitor today to a lot of cafes, and most people really focus attention on direct competitors in terms of differentiation, defining the concept. The reality is that others are probably just as important. That's why it's really important to understand who your substitutes could be and who potentially could also copy your products and offer same products like yourself. So I gave you example of the cafe. If I'm a local cafe, I was directly competing with other cafes, and suddenly Starbucks came in town and they offered other products that I didn't have. Then the grocery store opened its own cafe and offered also tea products and other products such as smoothies and juices, fresh juices. And then suddenly McDonald's, who was around the corner selling burgers, now has its own McCafe and selling same products I have. So you have to think about this and find a way how you can differentiate with these potential competitors. This is not saying that you have no chance of surviving. It is just to be aware of who's out there, understand the strategy, what value they create, and then how you can differentiate yourself in terms of what value can you create that these will not be able to replicate. Now I'd like to show you a quick video which is a true meaning of competition. It's by founder of Cooleris.
This is an interesting question. As a 3D browser extension for viewing rich media content, we don't really have any direct competitors. There are people who are cloning parts of our user experience, which we see as potentially competitive. And there are other client applications which are sort of web-centric, which can enable, I guess, content discovery or content sharing experiences. But really, I think our biggest competitor is more about time in the day. So we're competing for users' attention. So the time that they spend in the traditional web on their browser is really what we're competing for. And so we're competing for that, I guess, with the traditional paradigm of web navigation.
Yeah, so I think one thing to add to that is when you're thinking about competition in a business, you're not thinking necessarily about who's building the same product. You're thinking about who's solving the same user need, right? So like the iPod's competition wasn't necessarily another digital or another MP3 player. It was really the Discman and the Walkman by Sony. Tons of other examples. It really for instance, like the PDA. Their competition now is the cell phone, even though there's tons of PDA companies out there. So you really want to think about from a competition perspective, who's meeting the needs of your customers, not who's building the same product.
So I'm up level it slightly a little bit too. You have technology competitors, you have business competitors, you also have competitors for competing for the same talent. So I think you need to break down. Just as you segment your market for customers, you need to segment your market for competition.
So the video supports earlier point of looking at different ways of defining competition beyond that of just other people with identical product or services. I want to also give you a couple more examples to discuss the key industry attributes and competition. I want to describe both the positives and negatives of each. I want to point out how two relatively successful firms were able to get around a number of the barriers to entry and still carve out respectable spaces that clearly match different goals. QSDrinks.com is a hobby firm, therefore treated the factors differently, whereas Blurb is a high potential growth firm and looked at the industry factors in a different light. QSDrinks.com is a local Syracuse University based startup. They allowed underclassmen, fresh freshmen mostly, who live on campus and are not allowed to have cars on campus, to customize a case of non-alcoholic drinks and have them delivered to the dorm room. There are a number of limitations to this concept and this industry that are obvious, but at the same time there are few competitors and it's very relatively easy to start up. In terms of this, in terms of the competition, Q's Drinks has many competitors. It's the local grocery stores, it's the local cafes, and the limitation of Q's Drinks is it's only to students on campus. So they're first come or first in, but really the threat of alternatives of competitors is really high. And if they try to go somewhere else outside of the university, it's very difficult. So they face a lot of issues, and they will not be able to grow beyond the campus. However, the campus is very open to other rivals to enter, and now suddenly becomes what they had as advantage to be qsdrinks.com, serving non-alcoholic drinks only on campus, directly to the dorm room. Now suddenly everybody else can replicate it. So they have to think about how they can prevent anybody else from entering it, and potential for this would be to come up with exclusive agreement with Syracuse University, and if they plan to expand to any other college, that they come up with exclusive agreement that they will be the only one allowed to deliver non-alcoholic customized drinks. However, now we're going to issue, if I'm a pizza shop and I sell pizzas, I can easily add customized non-alcoholic beverages to my list and allow students who are buying from Q's Drinks now also, when they order my pizza, to order the same products that Q's Drinks is offering. So you see the competition, the rivalry, and a lot of the issues that might arise by trying to pursue even the exclusivity, because others deliver substitute products to the Q's Drinks. The blurb, you can also check it out, blurb.com. On the other hand, is an online full-service resource for publishing authors to design, publish, market, and sell professional quality books using the company's free award-winning BookSmart software. The authors can see the bookmaking process to the print order completely on their own, or they can hire publishing professionals, illustrators, editors, translators, and others through Blurb Nation, which is a roster of publishing professionals for hire. They face a number of other issues, not least of which are the potential for major competitors, changing technology, and so on. Yet Blurb achieved 45 million sales in 2010 and is listed at number 47 of the Inc. 500 list. So Blurb look at the publishing industry just like did our example before on the Zappos about the shoes. And it was an industry, it was very difficult to enter. It didn't make sense. Everybody was printing large scale, so if you want to go to a press, the minimum order would be like 5,000 books. Blurb allows you to do it only 5 books if you need. So they look at this and they identify there was also buyer power there, and they leverage that buyer power because nobody else had the capacity to, or didn't have the technology they had to be able to offer that low number of orders. So they look not only at the buyer power, but they also look at the supplier power as well as the substitute of threat, and nobody else was using really new technology, so they used they worked with different people, they created this nation to identify strong so to say capital of professionals and offer a great service that nobody else was able to offer. And by doing that, they created a name. They also protected themselves legally in terms of they have this technology that's not easily replicable. They own it, and now are able to deliver great services to customers who have a lot of buyer power now, because there's a lot of press out there that they're very expensive, and the buyers, a lot of those who are looking to order small numbers, who don't have the funding to pay or don't have the need to print 5,000 copies of the book, now go suddenly to blurb.com. At the end of the day, there are 3 questions you should ask yourself and make sure those are addressed in industry. Is the industry accessible? In other words, is it a realistic place for new venture to enter? Does the industry contain spaces that are ripe for innovation or have underserved markets? And are there positions in the industry that will avoid some of the negative attributes of the industry as a whole? If you look at this, you'll be able to identify if this is really a feasible industry for your business. And even if you identify some pitfalls and negativity in the industry and in the strong competition, as I gave you examples for both Blurb, Q's Drink, and the Zappos, there are a lot of opportunities there to create a niche, opportunities to create a unique process, unique model, or unique way of delivering your product and services that will give you advantage and competitive advantage and sustainable advantage in that industry and help your company grow. Please email us if you have any additional questions on the company and industry, and make sure to refer to the nuts and bolts of a business plan. Thank you.